Alright guys, welcome to the fourth part of the Django and JavaScript tutorial series on creating a quiz application. So before we begin, I just want to mention two things, and the first one is basically a major thank you for all of you waiting for this part to be released. Thank you for all the comments and emails. You know, it's so nice to create tutorials knowing that actually someone is waiting for them. It's a huge motivation for me to find time and release those tutorials. So thank you for all the comments, emails, likes. And the other thing is that this part is actually going to be the most difficult one. Okay, so just a heads up, it's going to be just a little bit more difficult than the previous parts. If you are ready, buckle up the seatbelts and let's get started. Alright guys, so what we will do in this part is to submit this form in order to get the results in the console. So we will display them in the console. What are going to be the results? For example, what is the total score? What questions have been answered? What questions have been answered correctly? What questions haven't been answered? Okay, so in order to proceed, what we need to do is to jump back into Visual Studio Code, into Quiz.js, and we need to grab a few elements. We need to grab our quiz form, we need to grab the Csrf middleware token, and we need to grab the answers. So we need to grab those elements with the class ans over here, okay? So yeah, let's get started. What I'm going to do is to create a new const, and I'm going to call it quiz form, and this is going to be document get element by ID. All right, so I'm going to jump into main HTML, and in the main HTML, oh, no, it was in the quiz HTML, sorry guys. Over here we have this form, so I'm just going to copy the ID and I'm going to bring it to quiz.js and put it inside over here in the quotation marks. All right, so we have our quiz form. As the next step, let's grab the Csrf middleware token. Okay, so I'm going to create a const Csrf, and this is going to be document and then get elements by name. All right, and we need to pass in Csrf middleware token. Hopefully I spelled this correctly. And then we need those elements over here, okay, those answers. So I'm going to call this const elements, and this is going to be document and then get elements by class name, and here I'm going to pass in this class. And I'm also going to transform this with the use of spread operator to an array, just like this. All right, so we have everything. Right now we can actually create a function that is going to be a send data function. And this send data function will be executed on the submit of the form. So below I'm just going to write down quiz form, not quiz box, but quiz form, and then add event listener. And we want to listen on the submit event. And then we can write event prevent default, and we can execute this send data. All right, so I'm going to save this, and we can go to the views py before we actually write anything in this function. We can go to the views py and we can create a view over here. So I'm going to define it below the quiz data view, and I'm going to call it save quiz view. All right, and this will take in a request and a primary key. So the primary key will be, of course, for the quiz that we are currently taking. So what I'm going to do over here is to return a JSON response, and for now I'm just going to put in text and, for example, works. All right, but in the meantime what I want to do is to print out the request post like this. Okay, so this will return a JSON response with a key text and a value works,
but we will see what is the request post. All right. So before we go back to our quiz.js, I'm going to save this, and I'm actually going to register this view that we created over here. So let's go to urls.py, and let's bring in this save quiz view. Let's copy this path. Let's paste it below. And here we have primary key. So let's add maybe save. And then we don't want to refer to the quiz view. We want to register our save quiz view. And the name can be, for example, save view. Okay. So let's go ahead and save this right now. And let's proceed and go back to our quiz.js. All right. We can actually start working right now on our send data function. So what I'm going to do first is to create a const data, and this is going to be an empty dictionary. And below, I'm going to put in to this dictionary the Csrf middleware token. So I can write down data and then Csrf middleware token, and I'm going to set this key as Csrf 0 value. Okay, so I'm not going to not node but value like this. I'm not going to go through this again. I basically explained this in every tutorial on Django and JavaScript, so this time I'm going to skip it, and here of course shouldn't be a comma. Okay, so we have put into this data dictionary our Csrf middleware token. All right, as the next step, let's go through the elements. Let's loop through those elements. We can write down elements, and then for each, let's grab a single element. And here what we are going to do is to check if this element has been checked. So element checked, if element checked, okay? If this is the case, what we want to do is to put in this element checked to the data. So as the key, we will have element name, and we will set it to element value. All right. So what is this element name, element value? If we take a look at this, over here we have the element name. So this is the question, and element value is the answer. Makes sense, I think. Okay. So we will have the key as the element name, and this is going to be the question basically, and then we will have the element value as the answer that we actually checked. All right. But then in other case, what we are going to do is to check if we don't have any key that is element name. Okay. And in this case, we can simply write down data and element name, and we can assign to this null. So basically, we will know, thanks to this, that this particular question hasn't been answered. All right? Okay, so let's continue. And here we will have our ajax. Okay, so the type is going to be post, like this. Then we will have our URL. So with the use of backticks, we can, of course, $sign has to be in the front. We can inject the URL and then save. So the URL has been defined over here. If you don't know how it looks like, you can always console log it. And then we add save, because in the urls.py, this is exactly the path that we provided over here. All right. So let's continue. Let's go back to quiz.js. So we have the type, the URL where we want to send our data. So we need to put in the data. And as the data, we are going to assign this data dictionary over here. All right. Then we will have success. And here we will have a function with a response. And we will console log the response. So if everything goes well,
for now, we should see this text works, okay? Then let's go to the error. And here we will have a function that takes in an error, and we will console log the error. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and save this, and let's see if this will work. All right, let's see if this first step will actually bring us closer to finishing this part. So I'm going to go to the browser, I'm going to refresh, I'm going to click inspect, right click inspect, and then console. And then I'm going to answer, doesn't really matter what I put over here. And we have uncaught type error, cannot read property for each of undefined. Okay, so we have some problem with grabbing those elements over here, and let's do it another way. I'm going to put it inside the send data, okay? Because it might have been executed those elements before we actually loaded them. So let's do it like this. Okay, let's go to simple math again. 10, 4, 3, doesn't matter, the answers don't have to be correct. Let's press save, and we still see this for each of undefined. Okay, let's go back. Get elements by class name ends. Well, maybe I just need to clear the cache. Command Shift R. Let's just go to the detail page, to the simple math quiz. Command Shift R again, and let's try this one more time. So let's answer. Answer this correctly. Let's answer this one wrong, and let's answer this one correctly. Let's press save. And okay, right now we have internal server error. So okay, so over here we have a hint. The URL doesn't end in a slash. Okay, so if we go to the ajax, let's add a slash over here. Let's save this. I'm going to press Command Shift R one more time. And let's hope that this time it will work. A response is not defined. Response is not defined, and this is because I forgot an S over here. Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, right now hopefully everything should be working. So let's do it one more time. 2, 4, and here we don't have a correct answer over here. 3 plus 3 isn't 1, 5 or 9. Okay, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to put in 5 for now. And we have text works. Okay, so as the next step, I'm going to change this 3 plus 3, okay? All right, and what I'm going to do over here is to go to quizzes, actually to answers, and I need to find this 3 plus 3 with the answer correct true. Well, the correct will be 6. Okay, so hopefully this problem will be solved. Okay, and we can actually continue. So if we see the response over here, which is the response that we've put in over here, we can now focus on other stuff. But first, let's go to the terminal and let's submit this form one more time. So I hit refresh, and then I'm going to put in 10, I'm going to put in 4, and I'm going to put in 6. Okay, so here we have this corrected, and I'm going to press save. And then we have the Csrf middleware token. All right, we have 5 plus 5 is, and okay, we have here value on, this shouldn't be here. And then we have 2 plus, and we have value on. And this isn't working the way it should. So let's go to quiz.js and let's take a look at our quiz box. We have an ID, question, answer. All right, this is correct. Then we have the name, and then we have the value. And here we are missing a quotation mark. Okay, so probably this was the issue. Let me save this and let me refresh, and let's try it one more time. Let's make this 6 maybe. It really doesn't matter. And right now, okay, right now everything is working. So we have the Csrf middleware token. We have only the questions and what we actually answered. Okay, so this is exactly what we wanted to achieve. So right now what we can do is to basically get rid of this Csrf middleware token, and we will have the dictionary of the questions and the answers. All right, so in order to do this, well, we need to go back to Visual Studio Code, to the views, and yeah, we can write down if we are dealing with a request ajax. So if request is ajax, then what I'm going to do is to set the data as request post. All right, and yeah, as the next step, I can actually print the type of data. All right, so let me just comment this out. Right now, I just want to print what is the type of data. Okay, so let's save this. Let's hit refresh. Let's save this. And right now we have a query dict. All right, so in order to delete the Csrf middleware token, we need to transform a query dict to an ordinary dictionary. Okay, so what I'm going to do below is to write the data like this, and this is going to be dict, and inside I'm going to write data lists. All right, and this will transform the query dict to an ordinary dict. And then I'm going to print type and then data like this. So let's save this. Let's refresh, save. And right now we have dict. Okay, so we can actually get rid of those prints, and we can continue working with this data. Okay, so as the next step, as mentioned before, we would like to delete the Csrf middleware token. All right, so what I'm going to do is to print the data over here, and then what I'm going to do is to write data pop, and we need to provide the key that we want to delete. So Csrf middleware token. Okay, and then I'm going to print the data again. So let's save this. Let's press save. Okay, so over here we didn't answer any questions, so we have it empty. Okay, and the most important thing to compare over here is that over here we have the Csrf middleware token. All right, and below we don't have it. Here we just have the answer, the question, sorry, and the answers. Question and the answer. Question and the answer. And since this is empty, we didn't answer any questions. So hopefully this is understandable. Okay, so right now we actually need to grab the questions, the object of those questions, and we can get it by the key. So in order to do this, let me just get rid of those prints. And below we can write down a for loop for k as key in data keys. Okay, so we want to refer to the keys, and the keys, as mentioned before, are the questions. What we can do is to print, let's say that we want to print the key, and here let's just put in this k, and then we can write question, and we can assign to this question a question object. So question question with capital letters. Did we import the question? Oh, we didn't. Okay, so we need to bring it in. From, and let me just check, because okay, I don't remember this project that well. We have this questions over here. Okay, so from questions models, we want to import question. All right, so now we can continue. Question objects get, and I think we've set the question as text. Yeah, we have it as text, and the answer as text as well. Okay, so we can go to the views, and here we can get it by the field text. So to this field text, we need to assign the key. So we are getting the question by the key with the use of this text field. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is to maybe create at the very top a questions list. And initially, I'm going to set it to an empty list. And then over here, we are going to append this question to the questions list. So questions append, and we are going to append the question. All right, and then let's print the questions over here. So let's see how this actually works. I'm going to save this. I'm going to hit refresh. I'm going to press save. And okay, as you can see, here are the keys, and those are basically our questions. Okay, and then we have the list of question objects. Okay, so we are getting one step closer. All right, so as the next step, we can actually grab the user and the quiz. So the user is going to be request.user, and the quiz, we are going to get it by the primary key over here. Okay, so it's going to be also very easy. Quiz objects get ID is equal to, actually it's pk. pk is equal to this pk. All right, so we have right now our quiz. So we can actually start preparing the results. So what I need to set is the score, and initially it will be 0. Then we will have the multiplier, because we want to present the results in percentage. So 100% is going to be the top score. So here what I'm going to do is to write 100 divided by, and then we need to go to quiz and number of questions. Yes, we have it over here. So this is going to be the multiplier. And let's create an empty list for the results. And finally, let's set the correct answer to none. Okay, so what we can do right now is to refer to those questions. Over here, we have all the questions that have been available in that quiz that we taken. And we could actually think that if we have over here this get questions method, why can't we get the questions from this method? Well, here we have them in the random order with the limitation to the number of questions. So for example, if we would have, let's say 10 questions, and the limit was 5 questions, we would have only 5 questions in the random order. So this is why we are getting the questions, the question objects, and we are putting it in a list so that later we can actually use those questions. And we will do this right now. So for q in questions, let's print maybe, or let's just skip it. You already saw the question. So right now, the most important thing is to grab the selected answer. And we can write it as a selected, as answer selected is equal to request post get. And here we need to pass in the strq. All right. So we are going to put in the strq, or we can simply put in q text. This should work as well. And this is, here we are grabbing the answer selected, because if we take a look at our dictionary, here is the question. So this is basically our key, and we are getting the selected answer by this particular key. All right, so let's actually take a look if this is working. So what I'm going to do is to print selected, and here we will simply put in a selected like this. And let's refresh. Let's put in like this. And we have selected 10, selected 5, and selected nothing. All right. So yeah, what we can do next is to simply check if we have an answer or we don't have an answer. Okay. So first of all, maybe let's get rid of this print. And here what we are going to do first of all is to check if a selected is not blank. Okay, this is the first case. Then if we are dealing with such case, what we are going to do is to set a variable question answers. So we are going to get the answers of those of the question. Okay, so we need to write down answer and then objects filter, and we are going to grab it by the question, and to the question we are going to put in this queue. Okay, because we are looping through the questions and we are going to grab all the answers that belong to a particular question. Okay, and if we go to the questions, to the models, in the answer we have this question over here. Okay, so hopefully this is understandable. We need to go to the views. Okay, so once we have the question answers, we can now loop through those question answers. For a as answer in question answers, what we are going to do is to check if a answer selected, is equal to the a text. All right, and if this is the case, we are going to check if we are dealing with a correct answer. So if a correct, and if this is the case, what we are going to do is to simply add the score. So score plus equals 1. And this basically means that we have a question answered correctly. Okay, so if we have 5 questions, the maximum score can be 5. And later we will use the multiplier to change it to 100%. Okay, but basically we are in a double loop. Okay, we are looping over here through the questions, and inside this for loop we have another loop where we are looping through the answers to a particular questions, and we are checking if the answer selected matches the particular answer, and yeah, if it's correct, then we are increasing the score, but also we are setting the correct answer to a text, to the answer text. Okay, because we want to return the correct answer. So later when we see the results, we can see that a particular question has been answered as the a selected. Okay, this is going to be the answered by us question, and the correct answer will be displayed next to it. Okay, but then let's also add a case over here where we are going to check if a correct, and we also going to set the correct answer to a text. Okay, so this way in both cases we will get the correct answer if we answered it correctly or not. All right, so let's right now refer to the results. So what we need to do is to refer to the results list, and in this case, if a selected is not none, we are going to write results append. And what I'm going to do is to open a dictionary over here, and then I'm going to write strq. So we are setting as the key our question. And then what I'm going to do next is to open another dictionary. All right, so as the value we will have another dictionary where the correct answer is going to be the correct answer. Okay, so this correct answer we can bring in and put it over here, and then the next key will be answered. Okay, hopefully I spelled this correctly, and this answered will be our A selected. All right, so this is the case if A selected is not none. So what I'm going to do next is to add an else, and I'm going to do it below. So if the case is that A selected is none, what we are going to do is to also refer to the results, and then we are going to append, and I'm also going to put in the dictionary with the strq, and here I'm just going to put in as the value not answered, like this. Okay, so we are going to simply append to the results list if depending on if the answer selected is blank or not, the answers that we given, or not answer, no answer. Okay, so I hope I'm explaining this the correct way. This might be a little bit confusing, but we have a results list, and we are adding to these results the correct answer. If we actually answered a question, we are providing the correct answer. All right, and we are giving the selected answer. All right, and in other case, what we are doing is simply appending to this list not answered. So we know that this question hasn't been answered. All right, and basically what we need to do still is to work on the results. So what I'm going to do next is to go over here. So we are now outside of the for loop, and I'm going to prepare another variable for the score, and this is going to be score times the multiplier. Okay, and right now we can refer to the result which needs to be imported. So let's go to from results.models, we want to bring in the result. Okay, and right now what we can do is to write results objects create. Okay, we are going to create a result where we are going to assign to the quiz field our quiz that we are taking. The user is going to be the request.user, which we defined over here. User is equal to request.user, so I'm passing as the user. And we also need to set the score. So score is equal to the score with the multiplier. All right, and yeah, what we can do next is to simply do a if check. If score is greater than, if the score with this underscore over here, if this score is greater or equal quiz and then required score to pass, in this case we are going to return a JSON response, and in other case we are also going to return a JSON response. So in other case I'm going to use this one. Okay, so yeah, what we can do is to write over here passed, and we want to set passed to true because we did pass the test. Then we can put in the score, and we can assign to the score like this. What else? Well, we need to also put in the results. So what I'm going to do is to set another key results and assign to it results. All right, so right now we are basically returning those results that we got from over here, okay? And this is the case if we actually passed the test. If we didn't pass the test, let's put in passed false, okay? So let's get rid of this works. Let's have passed false. And basically the score and the results can remain the same. So I'm just going to copy it and put it over here. All right, so this was a long view. And yeah, let's see if this is actually working. Hopefully it will work. I'm going to hit refresh. 5 plus 5 is 10, 2 plus 2 is 4, and let's say that 3 plus 3 is 1, okay? Let's save it, and we have an internal server error. Name answer is not defined, so I think we forgot to bring in the answer, okay? Answer, all right. Let's try it one more time. 3 plus 3 is 6, 1 plus 1, let's say it's 4, and 2 plus 2 is 4. Let's save it, and there it is. We have passed, true. The score is 66%, and here are the results, all right? So if we open up the results, we have 3 plus 3 is, and then we need to open it up. We have that we answered 6, and the correct answer is 6, okay? Then we need to go to the next one. 1 plus 1 is that we answered 4, and here is 4, and the correct answer is 2, okay? And then if we go to the next one, we have 2 plus 2 is 4, and we answered 4, and the correct answer is 4. All right, guys, this was a long one. In the next part, we are going to actually take those results and bring it in to this page so we can see this not in the console but in the browser. So we are going to manipulate the document object model. I would like to wish you all a great weekend and see you in the next part. Take care and bye-bye.